Well, it is a real honor and a privilege for me to be here with you this evening. Dr. Perkins, Coach, and Ann, Mary Ann, and Wayne, I just wanted, Noel, thank you for this privilege and for giving us the opportunity to serve along with you. I feel like, Dr. Perkins, you've been talking a lot in the last few years about writing a new song, and we are the song of your lives. And we are the letter that you've written to the church, and it's a great privilege for me to be a part of that. I'm from Costa Mesa, California, in Southern California, and nice. It's good to have the SoCal people with us this week. What I brought for you is a jar of dirty, snotty Kleenex. This is my jar of tears. And sometime earlier this year, I started saving the Kleenex from the times that I wept over my city. And I don't know why it seemed important, but at this time in our city where there was just pain after tragedy, after bad decision, I felt like I needed to do something. And I didn't know what to do with my pain. So I just shoved the Kleenex in the jar and I saved it. I know it's really gross. Mary Ann says it's innovative. I told a friend that I was going to take my jar of pain and present it to our city council, as if somehow when I gave them snot, they would suddenly be able to make good decisions. The thing is, I didn't know where to present my pain. And some of you, most of you in here, know what I'm talking about. You know that kind of pain that wells up in you until it comes out like sobs. And many of you could fill a pantry with jars of Kleenex that you've cried over your cities. Some of you wept with me this last December when the DREAM Act, it didn't pass again. And it was Christmas and everyone was celebrating around us and we wept bitterly because we knew for our undocumented students it meant delayed hope and there's a nagging urgency for us. We tweeted and we blogged because we didn't know where to present our pain. We've been talking a lot about innovating this week. When I think of innovate, I literally think of Jeremy Del Rio. I literally think of the people that have shared with us this week. Your books are the ones that I read. Your models are the ones that I copy. The people here in CCDA, you're the innovators for me. And as I was preparing for this and I was reading, I found that innovate doesn't necessarily have to be something brand new. It can mean to make changes. And in this year, I've had to make some changes in where I present my pain. And this year, I've learned to weep with the Lord. In John 11, it says that Jesus wept. But right before that, there's this really beautiful interaction between Martha and Jesus, and I'd like to spend our time there this evening. It's in John 11:17. You know the story, most of us, Lazarus has passed away. They've buried him. Mary and Martha are grieving, and Jesus still hasn't shown up. Starting in verse 17 of John 11. When Jesus arrived at Bethany, he was told that Lazarus had already been in the grave for 4 days. Bethany was only a few miles down the road from Jerusalem, and many of the people had come to console Martha and Mary in their loss. When Martha got word that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus told her, "Your brother will rise again." "Yes," Martha said, "he will rise when everyone else rises at the last day." Jesus told her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even after dying. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never, ever die. Do you believe this, Martha?" "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I have always believed that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who has come into the world from God." The first thing that I see in this story is that Martha went out to Jesus. It says that he was coming into town and she heard he was coming, and so she went toward him. In her grief and in her pain, even while she was mourning, she went toward him. So when I read this story at this season in my life, I think, I got to change my direction. I got to go to Jesus with my pain. Even though she was confused why he hadn't shown up, she went out toward him. We're all going home tonight or tomorrow. Who are you headed to with your pain? With the burdens that you carry? What direction are you going with that? Because while we're here, we're looking for the new partner and we're looking for the new model. And when we get home, we're going to go in that strategic direction, and then we're going to go after that grant. But who do you go toward with the burdens that you're carrying? Martha's taught me to change my direction. And I see in this story, too, an opportunity to change perspective. Jesus, when he shows up, he changes Martha's perspective. It says, if you had only been here, this wouldn't have happened. And Jesus tells her, your brother will rise again. And she says, yeah, I know. He'll rise again when everyone else rises. And it's almost like you can hear that resignation in her voice. I know, he'll rise again. And sometimes even when Jesus is standing right in front of us, we don't see it. And he says, no, I am the resurrection and the life. Right now, right here, in the situation that you're in, I am. I was thinking of this at a recent board meeting. I know, one of the most profound statements of Jesus, and I bring up a board meeting, right? But we were bringing on a new board member, one of our neighborhood leaders, and she was nervous about interacting with our board and getting in with the group, and I was nervous for her. I wasn't sure how they were all going to gel together. She had met the chairman of our board, Bob, and he's a successful business guy, and Anna and he had seemed to get along fine, but I was just thinking, how do I facilitate these relationships? And so I started plotting and scheming a board retreat to help them really make connections well. And I was thinking through and just really praying about how do we open up space for dialogue about reconciliation. And the next board meeting came along, and Bob said to Anna and during the meeting, hey, why don't you tell the rest of the board what happened? And I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. And Anna begins to share how she had lupus, and she had shared this with Bob when they first met. And Bob said, I'll pray for you. And that night when Bob got there, they greeted each other, and Bob said, I've been praying for you. How's your health? And she said, I don't have lupus anymore. I've been healed. I went to the doctor, and they don't know what happened, but I'm healed. And she shared the story with my board, yeah. And I watched them rejoice together and praise God. And after I went to her and I said, Anna, how come you didn't tell me that God had healed you? And she said, well, Bob asked about my health and you didn't. And I heard the Lord say, I am the resurrection and the life. Crissy, while you are plotting and scheming about how to get people to reconcile, I'm connecting their hearts. And while you're planning health clinics and seminars, I'm healing right here, right now. Change your perspective. See what I'm doing here. What are the situations that you're going back to in your community where you're resigned that they're just not going to change? That you're resigned to, we'll wait till Jesus comes again. Could it be that Jesus is standing in front of you right now saying, I am what you need in this situation right now. I am the resurrection and the life. We get a change in our perspective when we take our pain to Jesus. And I see too in this story that he's beginning to change my notion of friendship. We know how he goes on and raises Lazarus from the dead. And in the beginning of chapter 12, Martha's throwing a big party. And they're celebrating to honor Jesus, that he's raised Lazarus from the dead. And Jesus is there, and Lazarus is there, and the Pharisees hear about it, and they come. They come because they want to kill Lazarus. And they want to kill Lazarus simply because he's been raised from the dead. And that threatened their system. And him being raised from the dead meant that people were leaving their system and following Jesus. And this has got me thinking about what kind of innovations and changes I need to make in my friendship with Jesus. Because that my friendship with Jesus is so threatening that people want to kill me. And I heard Jim Wallace share on the stage this week, and he talked about how a few years ago he made a call for all of us to go to Washington, D.C., and he was kind of, making us feel good, like 120 people went. And I remember that. I was sitting in the audience, and I was compelled, so I sent an intern. One of my interns got arrested with Dr. Perkins. And I told people, Micah was represented there. Micah was there. Because it was too risky for me to go. They wanted to kill Lazarus because he was Jesus' friend and he'd been raised from the dead. When I read that, I think, that's my story. I've been crucified with Christ. Now it's not me who lives, but Christ lives in me. We've been resurrected with Christ. And so I have to believe that Lazarus had nothing to lose at that point. He'd already died and been raised again. His life was not his own. He owed it to Jesus. And so that makes me think, then, why don't I go to D.C. and stand up and advocate for the people that I say that I care about? It felt really risky then. We were a new organization, and we had donors that we were trying to convince we were doing a good thing, and, I wasn't sure what they would think if I got arrested. So I sent an intern. But this story and this season in my life has got me thinking what kind of changes I need to make in my friendship with Jesus. Because my life is not my own. Our lives are not our own. We've been resurrected with Christ, and that changes everything. In my neighborhood, we work with a lot of undocumented students, and we have a lot of people who will come and they'll tutor them, and they'll walk with them for years, and they'll even pay for them to go to college. But when we ask them to sign on for legislation that's going to change the system, that's going to set those kids free, it's just a little too much. It's just a little too far to go. And the question the story's got me asking is, how far are we willing to go for our friends? Jesus said that greater love have no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friend. Jesus and Lazarus were friends. Lazarus had nothing to lose. I need to make some changes in my friendships. I need to make some changes in how far I'm willing to go for the people that I call friends in my neighborhood. And it's not all about what risks we're willing to take politically. Some of you this week, some things have been stirring in you. You're thinking about asking kids to come in and live with you. You're thinking about maybe you should do something about moving into the neighborhood. You're thinking about maybe you should stay and not move out. And the question that I ask is, how far are we willing to go for the people that we say are our friends? Because our lives are not our own. We've been died and we've been risen again, raised again with Jesus. We have nothing to lose. Our lives belong to him. I was sharing with a spiritual director of mine about some of these nothing to lose moments that have been coming up for me this year. And in God's grace and his mercy, he gives us second chances, right? Another chance to either be all in or not. And I was sharing with her about my fear and my hesitancy. And she said to me, Crissy, where is Jesus for you right now? Like when you think about him, where is he? And I knew the answer because it had been inescapable for me for weeks. Because every time I prayed or I thought of the Lord, I just felt him holding my face, just like this, and he would say, hold my gaze, hold my gaze. And it was like we would bonk foreheads, and he would say, Mika, hold my gaze. Don't turn to the right, don't turn to the left, hold my gaze. And as I think about the changes that we need to make and the innovations that we're inspired to make after being here this week, I have to believe that we can understand what they are and we'll know what they are when we hold his gaze. When we hold his gaze, we'll know. It's a privilege for me to share with you the things that God's been teaching me about changes that we need to make. I simply share with you and bear witness to the things that Jesus has spoken to me, that I've heard him say. I simply share with you the things that I saw him do. May it be for the edification of his church and for the praise of the Lord Jesus Christ.